Growing up, I remember running the streets of our neighborhood, taking the change I could find and spending every cent on candy from the corner store. I remember renting a movie from the video shop every Friday night, and the owner knew us by name. Bumping into mom's hairdresser or car mechanic was common at the market. Before technology's rapid advance, the sense of community was strong. One thing that hasn't changed is how small businesses affect our daily lives. Culture, loyalty, and a sense of community are all things we value in a small business. And without them, our community begins to fade. But we could change that. We can bring back our childhood memories and create new ones for our children, starting with our communities and those who support them the most. And my name's Ed Stork, and this is The Local Lift.
My friend Chris proposed to his wife Davy in our photo booth. So he asked her, and as the photos went off, you saw the reaction on her face. Those kind of stories just leave a huge mark on, my feelings on what we do. If I'm feeling bad about things and those kind of things come up, it definitely takes that away. So it's not one story, it's the impact we have on people's lives, positive impacts, Will's didn't start off as a music venue. I was living in a motel, running and living in a motel on Mills Avenue. It's no longer there anymore. And there was a building next to it, and I was 22 at the time, and there wasn't a bar nearby. When the building became open, I took the chance, got the lease on the building, moved forward, but we started as just a small beer and wine bar with no live music, just a CD jukebox, some pool tables, darts, air hockey. It was a game room. Immediately, the area we were in was surrounded by musicians. There was, inexpensive houses. We were in between Winter Park and Orlando. So our core customers right out of the gate were in bands. And then for our anniversary, we started doing bands and never turned back. It was so well supported. It really felt like we were supporting a community that would support us, and it's just never let up. Will's was successful pretty much right out of the gate. If you don't use money as the metric for success. There were a lot of people that liked us. Young people didn't spend a lot of money, but it was 1995. Orlando had a really vibrant punk scene. Grunge was turning a page. Orlando music had a huge hair metal scene right before that. And it was we landed at the perfect spot for alternative and punk. And then a lot of country acts followed. It organically went all over the place. And, within a few years, we had Sam Rivers playing with his big band because some of the musicians that played with him, their side projects would play at Will's. So it grew by word of mouth, and they taught us how to treat them, so it was the musicians that fueled us doing it from the beginning, and then how we evolved into I won't say it wasn't legitimate, but into a more legitimate space where, in the 90s, there was tons of Econoline vans on the road with trailers behind them. And it was a different time frame. There were tons and tons of touring bands and bands that needed a place to go. So that's what we did. We do about 340 days a year at Will's, live shows. Some of those will be single bands a night. Some of them will be 3-band bills. Sometimes there's early shows and late shows. So safely 1,000 bands a year go through the stage at Will's. Here at Indies, it's a lot more scaled down as far as the amount that come through, but it's 3 to 4 nights a week of someone playing here. Little Indies, a few years after Will's reopened, I took over part of the Little Indies building for an production office, and I let other promoters use my copy machine, and it kind of turned into a nice hub, and it helped us put shows together. It helped us put outside events together. It was a good tool. And being right next door to Will's, the bar business is hard on your immediate neighbors. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you're always going to upset somebody. Somebody's going to do something stupid. So taking this space was a pretty natural step. Its name, my daughter's name is Indiana. When I found out she was coming, was about the same time I was deciding on whether or not to take the space over. And in order to pay for her, I knew I had to do something. So that's where it came from. And I wanted her to be named Indiana. So I got all the graphic stuff done up for Little Indies. And I showed it to her mom. I'm like, what am I going to do with this if we don't call it Little Indies? You know? Yeah. The bar business by nature, there's a darkness to it. You know, people go out drinking, they don't feel good the next day, or like it's not always the most productive thing for people's life or greatest lifestyle. So, and that stuck with me early on. So doing outside events that take things and put them in the light and help people, it's been important from the beginning. So we've worked with Harbor House, the Fern Creek Food Bank, tons of Mustard Seed, the Zebra Coalition, which is for at-risk gay and lesbian teens, the center down the street. Like we've done things in this neighborhood a lot to give back to the community. It helps them, but it also helps us interact with people that would never step foot here, but it gives them a better understanding of what we are versus what they think we are. We applied for quite a few loans. We did manage to get the PPP, which thankfully, I mean, we weren't able to use it correctly in the sense that like we were closed and we were supposed to take people off of unemployment, pay them, and then the agreement was keep them on staff, but we weren't open. So that wasn't really a workable model, but it has helped. And we've been able to help staff through fundraising with selling merchandise and stuff like that. The loan situation is really weird, and there's a lot of tethers to that are maybe long-term, that like you might survive this, but down the line, it's not going to work out so well. I've always been really close to the staff at Will's because initially when I opened, I was the same age, if not younger than a couple of those people, and we were friends. And that has never really ended. Like I'm still friends with all the first people that worked here, like whether I'm in somebody's wedding or like we communicate fairly often. They're my friends. One of the hardest things I've had to do in 25 years of being in business was to approach them and say, hey, I'm firing you. Like I'm getting rid of you and I can't do anything about this and I feel horrible, but it's the most responsible thing I can do is to tell you to go ahead and try and start getting some help because I can't. And at first there was a bit of, I felt bad about that, like really bad. Like I had planned poorly or you know, I wasn't doing this correctly. And as time's gone on, it's been a little better. And they communicate with me, which has made it easier. Unemployment's run out for some of them and just trying to steer them in a direction on picking up some work right now. And for the most part, everybody wants to come back. And for the most part, I think we'll be able to bring everybody back. The state of Florida has sort of deemed restaurants fit to open at a 50% capacity. They've waived off some of the differences between 4COP bars and restaurants to where if we put in an acceptable kitchen and an acceptable floor plan, the state of Florida is going to let us open to a degree. We had been working on a restaurant concept anyway. It would not fit into Will's. I reached out to a friend of mine, Reese, who owns Swine and Sons. It's a local place. They do catering, a lot of grab and go. They're really great chefs. And I've known him and his wife, Lexi, since they were like 20. And I like what they do anyway. They were in a place where they could help. And then it's now turned into more of a partnership. And they're going to do our kitchen. And I'm happy because I should not do a kitchen. They're passionate about it. They're going to do fun things, and he does a lot of like sausage making and pickling and things that like will be great for what we're doing. He makes pork rinds and bags them, and like it's going to be really fun. We work with a lot of smaller businesses. A lot of bands are small businesses. Like, they take out loans to buy those vans to go on tour with. They work with other vendors. They have lines of credit with screen printers. Like, they're a business. They have bills to pay. We have food trucks, or had food trucks, roughly 5 days a week. Mostly the same guys, and I know one of them in particular just isn't going to make it, and that stinks. And we were where they set up all the time, but there's a lot of like smaller vendors like that used bar culture to like set up and sell food at night, or catering, or like all of those things were interconnected, and they're all taking a hit right now. So COVID has cost us about $15,000 a month, roughly, that we're losing. That's not money we'd normally be like profiting. That's literally what we're losing every month. We've been closed basically 6 months. So it's a pretty big bleed. Bars in particular were put in a weird place because they closed us. And instead of letting commerce figure out if we were going to make it or not, our goal has been to float through this and to get reopened, when I think a lot of people would have already financially folded. So people are taking on debt to get partially open when it may not work out anyway. So, I'm worried that I'm putting my family in I'm leveraging my daughter's future to get my bars reopened, when possibly because of the economic constraints and occupancy issues and all, I won't be able to make it. So I'm fighting a battle that leads me to the actual fight. And that's a weird feeling, I feel like the best way to support even my local business, even if it's not coming here yourself, is to shop local. And that money is going to stay in the community longer than if you go to a national chain or whatever. It leaves quickly. Local businesses don't just preach the local thing. Oftentimes we support each other, even if it costs $1 more. So one of the ways to help, you're voting with your dollars what you want to exist on the other side of this. That's how it works anyway, but now it's even more so. In general, these small businesses, these spaces like mine, there's a lot of us, and especially in downtown areas, with them gone, there's going to be a ton of empty and commercial space that they're not addressing. And it seems really weird to me that there are thousands of places like mine, these art spaces and places where bands come and all, that when they're gone and somebody comes through and knocks down a block like mine and builds an apartment complex, we're running out of these like oddball buildings that we like fill and make commerce out of. And it seems like a lot of people don't care. And that's weird to me. And I know I exist in these spaces, so it means more to me. But I don't think a lot of people realize that these old buildings, a lot of small business, they can afford to go into, and they spend the money on the rehab, and they do it by themselves, and once they're gone, they're not coming back. It'll be 20 years when all these strip malls start falling apart before there's spaces that they'll want things like us back in.
Will, let's talk about community support and what that means to you. But first, I have something to share with you.
Is it rolling now?
Oh.
I've known Will for over 20, or probably about 20 years now. I used to work at the old Will's as the door guy. And that was an experience. When I moved here, I didn't really know many people. So working there really introduced me a lot to the music scene in Orlando. And I remember when the first Will's closed down, I called those the dark days of Orlando. And then we opened up this Will's here, and I helped build indies and everything, but everything I've done has been taken down now. But Will's just an amazing person. He really puts his heart into the community. I couldn't imagine what the music scene in Orlando would be like without him. There's so much that happens in this area with Will, and he just knows how to build a community for musicians and artists and everything. Yeah, he means the world to me.
He's an amazing guy. He's got such a huge heart, and the best way that is exemplified, I think, is when you look at not just what he does for the music community, but like the things he does for the community at large here. Like there have been so many benefits and fundraisers for people in need in the community. You know, a family whose little boy had cancer, and you know, a musician who needed to raise money for a kidney. And you know, we've had events here where our congresswoman came and spoke to people, and so it's just been really a rallying point for the community here. And it's a lot of soul and a lot of love and a lot of activism. Will, we love you. Thank you for everything you do.
So they're the photo booth couple, by the way.
I've known Will for about 20 years, and I consider him a dear friend. I consider everyone here at Will's Pub, Dirty Laundry, Little Indies, friends. I'm absolutely devastated with what has happened and what he's going through. I'm here to help in any way I can. I'm here to support, and I love you.
As long as I can remember, the powers that be in Orlando, the government of Central Florida, has always pushed for the fact that we have an incredible creative community, an arts community, an incredibly vibrant LGBTQ community, and we're not just Disney. That's been a huge, huge priority for the government here. Well, now the rubber's meeting the road. And this place, Will's Pub, this entire complex, what Will Walker is doing down here, is the absolute linchpin of the community that the city fathers claim to celebrate. Well, now's the time to celebrate it for real and put your money where your mouth is. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Places like this will cease to exist if they're not taken seriously as businesses. The amount of people that are employed, not only directly here, but through here as musicians, techs, things of these nature, hundreds of them coming through every week, all of them making money. This area, Mills, Virginia, has exploded economically in the last few years. Absolutely exploded. It's one of the hottest neighborhoods in Central Florida. And that is directly attributable to the community center and the success of Will's Pub, Little Indies, and Dirty Laundry. So all these developers that are launching money cannons at this whole area, they wouldn't do it without a place like this.
It's really,
so you can't be short-sighted and not endeavor to preserve a place like this and expect that economic opportunity and that economic growth to continue. It's just a fact. This is the centerpiece of the neighborhood.
It's really sweet.
All right. Yeah, Will. I've known that character for a very long time, and I consider him a friend. And he's given so many opportunities to so many people to play on this amazing stage that's been home to countless people. I just want to let you know that I love Will very much, and I hope nothing but the best for him.
So what does Will's Pub mean to me in the community? To me, Will's Pub is a second home. It's where I wanted to play. It's where I wanted to go see shows. It is a family. They are, for the community, not only an economic driver impacting countless local businesses here, they're an incubator for the entire arts community. They're essential and mean more to me than I could ever express with any words to you here today.
I don't hang out with them on the regular like I'd like to or whatever, but yeah, people that mean a lot. So people have been super supportive. When all this started, I like threw it out on Facebook, like, hey, do you need any yard work done or whatever? And some people in the community employed a couple of my bartenders to come over and like clean their yards up and trim trees and like did some pressure cleaning myself, and like, you know, like in so many different ways, whether it's just like, hey, we miss you guys, or, you know, kind words, or buying our merchandise, or coming in and buying cocktails, or, you know, sharing pictures from old shows, or sharing pictures of those cocktails or whatever. People support has made this seem like a small time frame when it actually hasn't been. It's been a while since somebody came in and, you know, watched a band, or like got in the photo booth and done something silly or whatever. But people support and engagement has made it feel like it hasn't been that long. It doesn't feel like it's been 6 months. I own Will's Pub, Little Indies, Dirty Laundry. We're total Wills right now.